welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. I'll also be posting this video on Facebook, so hi everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about something I don't usually talk about on my channel. It kind of sways away from all of my content on there, but today's video, like you could tell in the title, I will be talking about POTS and my story, and kind of what POTS is, what it is, and how I got diagnosed, my story with it, and everything like that. If you are on Facebook, you might have seen my post, just kind of giving more information and kind of my story on it. I didn't go into like full detail with it just because I didn't want it to be like a million pages long, if you get what I mean. So first I'm going to kind of start with talking about what POTS is and what it stands for, as far as POTS is obviously the abbreviation. So I'm going to put it here on the screen, but POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And when I was first diagnosed with this, I was like, what the heck are these words? What do they mean? Like, please use English, like I don't understand. But yeah, so over the years, I literally couldn't pronounce it, and since going to the doctor, I literally have to explain to every single doctor, like, this is what I have, this might affect this, or this might affect that, so I literally had to get down pat, like, how to pronounce these words. So, POTS is a autonomic dysfunction in which things in your body that happen by themselves don't really work in mine. So, for example, like my circulation isn't that good. So like my hands and my feet will be cold like all the time. And I will list more things like on the screen. But I'm going to kind of go into how I got diagnosed with it. So there is a test called the TTT, which is the tilt table test, and they do a few different tests within this test, if you get what I mean. So first they have me doing some breathing exercises, and while I am doing all of this, I am laying flat on a bed or a table or whatever, and I'm breathing into this tube, and it's like pressurized, so I have to breathe super hard into it and make it make this little thing. I don't even know how to describe it well, but literally just make this thing rise, and I have to get it to a certain point. Now after this test is done, they put some of like, you know, if you've ever been to like the ER or ever had those like sticky pads like on your chest to like monitor your heart rate and stuff, I had those but on my legs, and they put some water underneath those pads, and they sent some, like, I don't know what you would call it, but just like it would shock me just a little bit, like if your feet or your legs were falling asleep. That's what it felt like. And this test is used to stimulate the pores to see how well your body sweats. And then after that test is done, they hook you up to, or they hooked me up to a blood pressure cuff, one of those like finger heart rate monitor things, and then they like strap you down to the table, because at first, so at this point I'm still laying flat on the table, and they get my measurements as far as my blood pressure and my heart rate, and then after they've gotten some good measurements with that, they start to raise me so that I go into a standing position, and At this point, if my beats per minute have gone up 30 beats, I have POTS. And mine went, I believe I was like 74 beats per minute when I was laying down. And then when they stood me up, it skyrocketed to like 120s. Now, I don't believe that just because your heart rate goes up, that's like the only sign. But this was like a long time ago. This was in March of 2013. So it has been quite some time since I've had this test done. But that is just a little bit more information about what this test does and what goes on. Now, I thought it was really cool to see that when I was kind of refreshing my memory on some information about this, I went online, and when I just searched on Google POTS, it came up as common. And I thought that was really cool because when, just like a couple years ago, and when I was diagnosed, it said rare. Now, it wasn't necessarily rare, it was just like rarely diagnosed because people, or I mean like doctors, didn't really know what it was, like not many of them. So I just thought that was really cool to see that doctors, more and more doctors are becoming more and more aware of what this is, and it's just really awesome because I can't tell you how frustrating it is to feel this way for so long and have doctors not be able to give you an answer. It just kind of makes you feel like, am I creating these symptoms? Is my body like making these up? But I'm going to go ahead and kind of go into my story. Now, if you have read my post about it, you do know kind of like the gist, the general story, but I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail. So it all started in I'd say about 4th or 5th grade. I've been feeling this way for as long as I can remember. So in 4th or 5th grade, I just remember always having to ask to go to the nurses because I didn't feel well. And every time I would go to the nurse, I didn't have a temperature or anything like that. So you can kind of understand that if a child keeps going to the nurse and they don't really appear to have anything wrong with them, you might assume that they're faking it to get out of class. So it kind of went on through middle school. It was the worst. Because I would always feel like this, and there didn't seem to be anything that would help me, like at least just relieve some of the symptoms so I could be in class. And it also added to the stress that I didn't want teachers to think that I was faking this. And from some of them, I did see that they thought I was faking and I wanted to get out of class, and I felt really horrible for that, and that just added to everything else that was going on. So 8th grade was probably the worst, and I literally would at least go to the nurse once a day. I could not go a day without going to the nurse's office, and they would only let me lay in there for like a half an hour. And literally once that half an hour went by, I started to feel better because I was laying down and I was resting. And they'd send me back and I would ask to lay longer, but no, I couldn't lay longer. Oh, can I call my mom to bring me home? Oh, you don't really have anything wrong with you, so why don't you just go back to class? I go back to class every single time I went to the nurse's office. Then my mom finally said that this was enough. And this was in 9th grade when I moved towns, and that was also very hard because I was scared that my health would get in the way of trying to meet new people, trying to get myself out there, trying to just like make friends and everything like that. But my mom finally said, this is enough. Like, you've been feeling like this for way too long to not have any answers. So we went to our local clinic, and she just let it all out. Like, she's been feeling like this for years and years and years. We have literally not gotten any answers, and we need answers because it is affecting her school life and everything like that. So that is when I met this doctor that literally changed my life. Like, I cannot tell you how grateful I am for this doctor. Like, I finally didn't feel like I was a crazy person anymore. But anyways, he did some like general tests, and he sat us down and he was like, do you guys know what POTS is? And I was like, no. And he kind of briefly explained like the general meaning of it. And we were just like, okay, like, I will take anything at this point. And he said, no, we can't do anything here just because we don't have the right equipment or the right doctors for this. So I'm going to refer you to Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And I was like, heck yeah, like, I finally am getting somewhere. After years and years and years of feeling like this, I have gotten somewhere. And so we went to see the doctor in Mayo, and we did those tests like I told you about in the beginning of this video. And they were like, you have POTS. And literally in that moment, I felt this huge weight be lifted off my shoulder. And I was just kind of, I was sitting in the room and I was hearing her explain all of this and throw all this information at us. And I was sitting there and I was listening, but at the same time, I was kind of not in the moment, and I was just like, I was so focused on finally getting some answers that I wasn't having my full attention towards what she was saying to me. But during that appointment, she just kind of explained everything, and then we set up some more appointments with different doctors to kind of go over treatment plans and things like that. But I was officially diagnosed with POTS in March of 2013, and I couldn't tell you guys how just like relieved I was to finally find some answers. But after a couple years, so I had my doctor prescribe me with some I believe it was Zofran for nausea, because that is one of my biggest symptoms. And I was on that for a while, and then he took me off of that just because it's not something that you want to be on for a long period of time. So I came off of the Zofran, and for a couple of years I felt great. Like, I didn't feel any symptoms from POTS or anything like that. And then all of a sudden these symptoms just started coming back into my life, and that just like scared me because they told me that POTS could eventually go away on its own. Sorry, someone called me. But they were saying that POTS could go away on its own, which I was really thinking that that was the case when my symptoms were going away. But when they started coming back, I was just kind of started getting more down on myself because I thought this like nightmare was finally over and I could be like a normal person again. And so I went back to the doctor and did the whole testing thing again. We did the tilt table test, everything that I talked about in the beginning, and I go and I sit down with this doctor, and this is not the doctor that I saw the first time. And she said to me, well, you don't have POTS. You might have a mild orthostatic syndrome. Maybe a very mild case. And that is when I started feeling that same, like, is it literally in my head? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Why does my body hate me? And I, to this day, just kind of brush that off. Like, I realize that they are doctors, and I realize that, like, I'm not a doctor by any means, and it just kind of put me off because I literally started feeling the same exact way as I did when I got diagnosed with it, and I just didn't believe that I could feel the same exact way, but not just like barely have POTS and have this mild thing. And when I got pregnant with my son Finley, the POTS started to go away, and I took that as I went into it with caution. And I know with all of the extra like nutrients and all of the extra, especially all of the extra blood flow that you get when you're pregnant, really helps people with POTS. And I was really happy, and I just couldn't imagine having POTS and being pregnant at the same time. I would literally have been like bedridden because I would just feel like crap all the time. And so I unfortunately kind of was getting used to feeling great, feeling good. And after I had Finley, things started to just kind of like hit me with a train. And it wasn't like I had him and then months later things started kind of creeping back in. It was more of like, okay, you don't have a baby in your body anymore, and all of this blood flow nutrients is all of a sudden not there anymore. And literally when I was still in the hospital recovering from giving birth, it hit me like a train. And that was one of the hardest things to go through, giving birth and then being hit with this train of symptoms again. And I just feel like I can't catch a break with all of this. And months went by and I was continuing to feel like this, and I was like, enough is enough. I literally would make myself go to bed every night just so I could go to sleep and not feel like crap. And I would literally lay in bed and I would have to slowly breathe in and out, and I would have a cold wash rag on my head, and I would just count. I would count very slowly. I would go 1, 2, and I would count with my breaths. And that is how I would try and concentrate on something other than how I was feeling. Because every single night, I wanted to just like puke my guts out. I'm sorry if that's a little gross, but that's literally how I felt every single night. And at this time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I needed to feel good for Finn. I needed to be healthy so that I can do the best that I can for Finley. And I went back to Mayo and I saw a doctor and we did a bunch of testing. She took images of my stomach because maybe when I was eating, like my stomach wasn't emptying it fast enough, or maybe it was stretching too large, or blah, 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 all of this stuff. And so we did testing for all of that, and all of that, unfortunately, came back normal. I mean, I'm grateful and happy that everything in that area is working how it should. But to not get answers again is literally so hard. So she prescribed me with some nausea medicine to at least kind of ease that so I could actually be a normal person and get outside and do things. So, she prescribed me with this nausea medicine, and I would take it and it wouldn't do anything, and I tried that for about a month and it literally did not do anything. So I got back in contact with her and let her know, like, hey, this isn't doing anything. Is there anything else we can do? Because I can't lead a normal life feeling like this. And so I went back in and she said, we can try this other medicine, and if this stronger medicine doesn't work, we are going to prescribe you with some nausea medicine that we give to chemo patients. And I was hoping to God that this medicine would work, because I literally don't have an answer to anything. So the only thing that I want is at least some relief. And so I tried this medicine and it worked. It worked. I couldn't believe it. I took it and And it literally worked. It literally made me feel like a normal person again. And I was so happy to not feel like I always have to sit next to the toilet because I was going to throw up. And that brings us to current life, where I'm still taking this medication whenever I need. I usually have to take it once or twice a day, and I still have no answers, which is still really hard because feeling this way and not getting any answers is the worst feeling, when you have to be strong and you just have to be strong for your family. I know I shouldn't have put mascara on. So, one of the main reasons, obviously I wanted to feel better, but at the same time, I couldn't stay home with Finley all day and be feeling like this, because then I started to get really depressed and really just like I didn't care about anything. But now that I have this medication, literally has been making me feel like a normal person again, which is so awesome because I have a job now. I can actually work. Like, before there was no way I could get a job and feel like that. And now I have this medication. I can work, I can go out and I can do things and not feel like, oh, am I gonna have to go home like a few minutes into this event and because I don't feel well? Now I literally, if I go somewhere and I start feeling like crap, I can take this, and it makes, like, nausea is a big thing. And I literally kind of took for granted feeling well in those parts of my life when I didn't feel sick. And now I just take it day by day, and when I go through a day and I don't have to take this medicine, I am so thankful, because I am a person that doesn't like to take medicine if I don't have to. Like, if there is a more natural way that I could relieve this, I would, but there's just not. And I didn't think I was gonna get emotional in this video, but it's just been a really huge thing in my life, and I haven't really talked about it in this extent because I didn't like have the courage to like open up and share. But yeah, that is my story with POTS, and my story with feeling like I can't be a normal person. But I just want to let you guys know that if you are ever feeling like this, or if you are ever down on yourself about something, you are not alone. Like, there are people out there that are feeling the same way as you. And I just want to let you know, if you are ever feeling like this, if you are ever down on yourself, if you're ever second guessing yourself, I just encourage you to stand up and fight for your health, whether that be like your body's health, your mental health, anything like that. If you are ever getting down on yourself, you need to stand up and you need to fight. You need to fight. If you have to take medication to feel better, do it. If you find that doing your hobby makes you feel better, do it. If you're worried about what others are thinking about what you're doing to make yourself feel better, you just need to ignore that, because if it makes you feel better, you take that the hand and you take it and you run, because it's not worth making yourself feel like crap to worry about what others are thinking. And if you ever need someone to talk to or someone to just vent to, you're more than welcome to message me. I understand. I may not understand your certain situation, but I definitely know what it feels like to be in the lowest part of your life and to just be so confused and so overwhelmed with everything. I will just be there for your shoulder to cry on, or even if it's just through like Messenger or a text message or a DM on Instagram. Like, I will be that person for you. I don't care who you are, but that is just kind of what I wanted to get off my chest, and I just kind of want to spread awareness. Like, that was the whole point of this video. I just kind of wanted to share my story, because if anyone else is going through something like this, I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone. And yeah, that is pretty much all I have. But if you guys made it this far, then really I do appreciate you so much for making it through this long video. I really didn't think it was going to be this long, but I feel like some parts I was just kind of jabbering on, which I didn't mean to. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for listening. Even though I'm literally just talking to my phone right now, it just feels good to talk about it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.